Live from the Pines, your favorite East Texas sports podcast, coming at you live. Want to give a big shout out to our guys at Zilker Belts. Use discount code PINES936 for all online orders. We thank those guys for all the support. If you're interested in sponsoring the podcast, reach out to us. Post on the Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Give us a shout. We're looking. Tonight we have joining us Coach John Writt, Longview, Texas native, offensive coordinator, Jack Yates High School. How you doing tonight, sir?
Doing good, man. I appreciate you for having me on.
Oh, man, it was a pleasure. As soon as I got Coach RT on there, he told me you need to go get Writt. I was like, that makes nothing but sense to get him on here and let's talk a little ball. But, we're a week away from the state championship game. I mean, not a week away. We're 3 days away pretty much because, we're a day away. We're a day away. They start playing on Thursday, right?
No, let's start playing tomorrow. I think 6-man will go tomorrow.
6-man plays tomorrow. You're right. Then you get 2A, 3A, and all that going. But it's been a long football season for a lot of teams, and we've been at home for a couple weeks now, and it's just it's part of it. But
be like that sometimes, man.
That's part of it. The ball don't roll. I mean, the dice don't roll your way every time. But it's a bunch of big games going to be this weekend.
Yeah, it's funny that my in-laws they're actually Houston natives, but when they retired, they moved to a little small country town outside of Palestine called Oakwood.
Oh yeah,
Oakwood. They play 6-man ball, and they actually made it to state this year. So
are you going?
Up to 8. Am I going? Nah, I got to work, man. But they'll be there tomorrow. One of my wife's one of her little cousins, she's actually on the cheer. She actually cheers for Oakwood, and I think she dates the quarterback for them. So they'll be there cheering tomorrow.
Mega support,
no doubt.
But Coach Writt, a little about yourself. We know you're from Longview. We know you're a baller. We know you're great play callers. Let's hear about a little about your career. Coming up through Longview and everything.
Yeah, so man, I'm Longview born and raised. Played little league in Longview. Went to middle school in Longview. I'm sure you heard of Forest Park before.
Oh yeah, I played against them.
Yeah, we used to play Lufkin back in the day. We were actually pretty good back in the day. Forest Park. They're actually like the lesser of the 3 schools now, but that hadn't always been the case. But you can always go over to Forest Park and pluck an athlete or two out of there. But yeah, I played middle school at Forest Park. Then I actually played for Longview. So the first year Coach King got the head job, or started as the head coach in 2004, was actually my freshman year. So it was like first year head coach. It was like the first year we got turf. So yeah, I came in.
I'm not incorrect. Coach King is from Longview. I mean Louisiana, correct?
Yes, he's from Louisiana. They came up with Pat Collins. It was, I think, year 2000, something like that. Maybe a year before that. But he came over as OC, and then when Pat Collins just stepped back and became the athletic director, Coach King, was the head coach.
So you played at Longview. You played against Lufkin. Obviously, I saw Ralph posted something on Twitter the other day. But talk a little bit about your playing career as a player for Longview and all those things, and after playing at Longview, moving on to college.
Yeah, so I mean, my first 2 years I played receiver, and then I ended up moving to defensive back my junior year. And what's crazy was that was the year that Lufkin was ranked number 2 in the nation. So like I wasn't starting at first. I remember we had a defensive back, Michael Hornich. He went up to defend a pass against Dez Bryant, and came down on his ankle wrong and broke it. So I was the next one in the game. So like here I am out there, like big eyes, kind of like Lufkin. They had freaking dudes, like you talking about Ralph Thomas, Dez Bryant, Ja'Cory Turner, Jeremy Claiborne, like they had dudes all over the field. But I actually I don't know if you remember, but I got Nike hit of the game against Dez Bryant. Like it really wasn't a big deal to me, but I remember after the game, like, because Dez called like a curl route, and he turned up and I just hit him. Because one thing about me, if you ask anybody about me, I've never been scared to hit. So I hit him, and I remember after the game, everybody was texting my phone like, dang, you got Nike hit of the game, and I really didn't think it was a big deal. But yeah, yeah, Ralph, he posted that clip of me last week. It wasn't no big deal. He texted me before he posted it anyway. He's just like, I'm about to post this clip. It wasn't no big deal. But I wasn't embarrassed by that. Like if you guarded Ralph Thomas in high school, like you probably made his highlight tape. Like I always tell people that most people got 2 years, but Ralph got 3 years. But yeah, man, I played. I kind of was like, my junior year, I kind of was getting my feet wet at the position. Like I was kind of, after the game we played Lufkin, I ended up starting for the rest of that season. And I was just kind of like, getting my feet wet, just kind of getting used to the position. And like I said, I was starting, but I didn't necessarily feel like a guy. But that off season, I really busted my butt. Went to work, got on the track. I had that summer I worked. Coach King hired me. Longview has a work crew that they hire. They usually hire like 4 kids to be on the summer work crew. So I got hired on the work crew, and I was literally there all summer, like grinding. I didn't miss a workout. Senior year, I come out. I had 150 tackles, and I don't remember my exact stat line, but I ended up making all state. I actually broke the tackle record at Longview for a year until it got broke the next year. But ended up getting a
Tackles
scholarship.
did you have?
You said what?
How many tackles did you have?
I had 150 tackles. And if any, like, what's crazy, I got this. I don't got a screenshot of the number that says it, but I got a screenshot of like all my tackles from the game. If anybody want to fact check that, like, yeah, I had 150 tackles. I actually started the season my senior year. We played Lufkin the first game. I had 21 tackles against Lufkin.
21 tackles in one game against Lufkin.
I had 21 tackles against Lufkin. Then the second game we played Marshall. I had 17 tackles. So like I led these Texans in tackles for like the whole regular season. Like it was.
So
But
you was out
where,
there
where I
hitting.
played, so like my junior year, I played strong safety. So like we ran a 4-2-5. So I played strong safety. So I was more so in the box. But my senior year, they switched me into strong safety and they put me back at free. And if you follow along with football at that time, like anybody who's like if you played that free safety position, like you had a lot of tackles and you had to be a guy that wasn't scared to hit. You had to be smart and then be able to cover too. So 150 tackles, man.
So something I wanted to ask you was, we always talk about, different programs and stuff, and you talk about the South Lakes, the Cadies, the North Shores, the Duncan Mills, but just because Longview's only won one state championship under Coach King, playoff football has always been something that Longview's known for. Y'all are known to have a good defense. Y'all are going to run the ball, and you're going to have a tight end every year. That's just three things you're going to have at Longview. And they're going to be physical, and you're going to have 2 kids on the team that should be running on a relay team for the U.S. What do you think, what do you think as a kid, like, what do y'all instill in Longview, like, bringing these kids, like, up to be ready to be a Lobo playing on Friday nights?
Man, it's really just one word, toughness. Like, and that word can venture off and mean a lot of things. But after my sophomore year, that was the year of Vondrell McGee and all those Trent Williams. Like that was the year of the 2014 or the 2005 team. They lost to we lost to South Garland in the first round. And man, when I tell you that was the toughest offseason I've ever been through, but just having those tough off seasons, like, prepares you mentally. Like I tell people a lot of the time that like football taught me so much, like as far as my mental goals, as far as being able to overcome things, because you're pushed to that limit. Because you talk about like my freshman year, we come in with 120, I think we had 128 freshmen. And by the time we were seniors, we had 48 seniors. And at that time, that was actually a lot of kids for a senior class. And we didn't necessarily have a lot of kids that were signed. We signed 2 kids. We had a tight end with the Northwestern State, and one of my best friends, the course forward, he signed to ULM. But we didn't have a team full of D1 guys. But we were just tough, and it was built through off seasons. Running kids off, not necessarily running them off, but everybody can't make it through this because you're not built for it. But the ones that do make it, you know uh, like I said, you just have that toughness that you overcome things, and you're able to. That's how you're able to take 195-pound lineman and 215-pound lineman, and you go against those 300-pound guys, and after 4 quarters of low football, they don't want no more. But like I said, it's those off seasons, man. It's grinding. It's the coaches grinding on you. It's you growing up, coming to watch Lobo football, and just wanting to be there. And then by the time you get in high school, you know that the process that you have to go through to get where you want to be is something that everybody else has went through. So if you want to be that, you got to hang in there. And by the time you're a senior, you just got that level of toughness about you.
Do you think, like, me personally, I remember being a kid, and I'm sure you did this, y'all did the same thing in Longview, but like, kids went to the game on Fridays. You went down there and somebody had a football, you played football, you got ready to go play on Saturdays, like you watched those Friday night games like you were watching, Des Bryant play for the Cowboys, Randy Moss, all those guys played. But like, do you think that like a lot of youth have got away from like, being around, like, not, it's not necessarily the youth, but like parents that got the kids away from being like around football like that. And,
Yeah,
it's
it is, bro. Like, and if you came to the little league games back when we played, because like back in the day, we all
everybody was
played.
there.
Yeah, and we all played for our elementary school. Like I went to a elementary school called Bramlett. We were the Bears. Like whatever school you went to, you played for that school, and it meant something. You know what I'm saying? I remember like, because I was a running back in Little League, and all the running backs were like, whoever was the star running back from Longview that year, like we would have that number. Like I remember one year, like when Fred Taylor was coming through, we all had 15. You know what I'm saying? So like, we wanted to be those guys that played on Fridays. But to answer your questions, yeah, man. It's got away from that, and I started with like with that we all played for our schools. By the time like I was back coaching at Longview, it was like the schools were pretty much dead. Like the little league was dead. People were playing for like travel teams, and it's kind of went through that now. Like I think there's a league that's like Tri County and stuff like that now, and you see more of the city model. Now being down here in the city, you'll have an organization that has a flag team, then a freshman, junior, sophomore, junior, and senior team, but you don't get that same effect. And on the flip side of that, like a lot of parents are not pushing their kids to play football. Like with electronics and social media, and you don't even see kids playing outside like you used to. Man, it's sad to see, and that's something that I try to make sure my kids do. Like I have two little boys myself, and we try to. You can't get away from the electronics, but you can limit it. Like we're not going to use them in a week. We're going to spend time outside, and we're going to have some of those old school principles, like go get you some water out of a water hose, like some stuff like that. So
Yeah, that's nothing but the truth. And like you said, that's pretty neat what y'all had in Longview, like, elementary versus elementary. That's pretty, like, you don't see that like a lot of places. And
mhm,
you're playing for something, so you're learning, like, you stand for something, you represent something, you want to go win for something at a
no
young
doubt.
age.
And then like to piggyback on that, like it was always cool to see, like you start all the kids off at Jody McClear, Ware Elementary, South Ward, Bramlett, and then you bring that to three middle schools, and you combine the three teams from those little league teams, and then even though you're competing, then we all know the ultimate goal, or in the future we're all going to be on one team, which is Longview. So you see it come from here, elementary, to kind of dumb it down, and then we're all in one in Lobo. So it was always cool.
Everybody becomes one. You become a Lobo.
Yeah, no doubt.
I was going to say, so I was at the barber shop the other day getting a haircut. It was a Saturday, and I can't remember if it was youth football season or nothing, but my barber was saying, he remembers we were kids playing for Jeff Rogers and stuff. Like they would literally close the barber shop to go watch the varsity, the little league varsity game of the week. Like we played
Oh
Corrigan or
yeah.
something, and they would, everybody would be there to watch that, and then they would all go back to the barber shop. It was like everybody wanted to be at the games that Saturday.
Yeah, no doubt. Man, that's how exciting Little League was, man. I hate that it's not the same that it used to be, especially in Longview, because I like it was special. Like Southside Park on Saturdays, man. It used to jump from about 8 in the morning to whenever that last game was. And back at the time, you had, I think, Kilgore played in our league, Carthage had a team in the league, Tatum had a team in the league, Big Sandy had a team in the league, and it was fun, man. It was exciting.
Those are good times, back then. I've never really had a chance to have a personal conversation with John King or anything, but they played against Lufkin this year. We lost 7-3, and then you hear a lot of talk this season about Longview football. Like the D line was undersized, but they were still dogs.
That's
Like
that's every year.
is that every year?
For the most part, like if you ever met Coach John Berry, the defensive coordinator, like he doesn't care for a 6'5", 290 guy that can't move or that doesn't move all that. He give him a little scrappy 190 pounder that spiral and come off the ball and try to kick some butt. Like that's
That's
that's what that's if you ever like 9 times out of 10, if you see a Coach Berry defense, like you're gonna see some little scrappy guys, and you may look at them on film and say, those guys are little, but when you get out
they
there on
can
Friday,
go.
them boys gonna be quick as cats, and they're gonna try to hit you in the mouth, and you're gonna get 4 quarters of it.
And another thing with Longview is Lufkin, obviously we play them every year. They've had our number the last couple of years, but Longview, they run the ball. They're gonna bomb you a couple times,
Hmm.
and y'all love to throw that damn tight end.
Yeah, we're gonna keep it tight end, man. That's one of the things I took from Coach King. I always like I love a tight end, man. It's just so much stuff you can do with them, and then when you get into it, like like a lot of teams, which if you've seen over the last few years, because you remember when everybody went to spread, it was like nobody was really using the tight end. It was like 10 personnel, four receivers out there. But you've kind of seen like tight ends become, uh, more utilized here over the last 5, 10 years or so.
And I said earlier, you did have a stint of time coaching at Lufkin. So, we want to elaborate a little bit like your time at Lufkin, being from Longview, getting to coach at Lufkin, one of the Longview's biggest rivalries.
So, one of my best friends is Cam Davis, and we met in college. I guess we kind of knew about each other because the thing about me, I used to always keep up with like high school recruiting and especially East Texas recruiting. So I knew about Cam, but we got to college and we got really close. But when I first graduated, because Cam started coaching the year before me, I actually started working at Enterprise because I didn't have a certification yet. So I'm working at Enterprise, and I remember I had promoted up and I was managing my own branch in Kilgore. So I'm sitting up one day, this like in July. I'm sitting up in the branch in Kilgore, and Cam calls me. He's like, because I had literally just got in the certification program probably like a week before. And he's like, "Hey man, we just had a spot come up. Call Coach Quick and and tell him, tell him what you got going on. I've already told him who you are." So I did, and Coach Quick calls Coach King, just to get a reference on me. So Coach Quick calls me back, and he's like, "When can you come down here and meet with me?" And I was like, "Let me call my manager and check," but pretty sure pretty quick. So I think like that. This had to be like a Thursday, and I think I went down there that Monday. And I met with Quick, and it wasn't even like an interview. I was thinking I was going to go do my first head coaching interview, and I honestly really didn't have to interview. Like Coach King gave me such a blessing, and those two are good friends. He just took his word that he hired me, and then by this time, it's like I said, it was literally the end of July, like, and fall camp was getting ready to start. So he was like, "When can you be down here?" And I'm like, "When do I need to be down here?" And he was like, "I think it was a week." So I went back to Enterprise, and I told you, I was like, "Man, like." It wasn't even a 2 weeks notice; it was a 1 week notice. But I remember when I first made my announcement, and it was a little weird, but when you're an adult and you want to do something,
You
it's
got to
way
do what's
bigger
best
than
for you.
yeah, it's way bigger than like Longview looking like that stuff is small minded. Like and I did have some people message me like bro, why you coaching at Lufkin or like yuck, and I was like I wouldn't even entertain. I
It's
wouldn't even entertain
business
that.
at that point.
Yeah, that's ignorant. Like, but like the weirdest thing about it was I remember because the first game of the season we played. And I was actually a freshman coach. Me and Cam worked together on the freshman staff, but we did help on Friday nights with wherever they needed us. But the first game of the season, I remember I walked to the 50-yard line and Coach King and like just shaking his hand and seeing my alma mater on the opposite side. It was a little weird, but other than that game, everything else just felt
Who won
good.
that game?
We actually won. Lufkin won,
Would you
which was
say
kind of
we?
I was relieved about because I didn't want to hear nobody from my hometown talking noise. But that was the year we played them back in the first round. So we played Longview in the first round in Tyler and
It
was
didn't
up
go our way.
28-7. And if you was at that game, you know what happened.
It didn't go our way.
And that low momentum start rolling, man. It's like,
And that damn horn y'all carry.
yeah, that horn, man. It's good if you're on one side, and it's
Bad to be
annoying
on
if you're on the other side.
Yeah. So you're at Lufkin and then you leave Lufkin and go back to Longview.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So, like I said, I was here, I was in Lufkin that whole year. It was, and I enjoyed it, man. It was I got, I was actually teaching, so I got through in a history class too. So I was like, that was my first year teaching, so I got through in an American government class. So that was a learning curve, and then just learn how to be a transition from player to coach. But like I coached 3 sports that year. I coached football, I coached freshman basketball, and then I coached track. So I was busy. So that summer comes, and so my wife was then my girlfriend. So what was just to backtrack for half a second, like my wife moved to Longview, um, I guess about a year or so before that, and which, like I said, we were just boyfriend and girlfriend at the time. So we were actually trying because my wife worked for CPS, but we were transitioning to move her um, to Lufkin. So that summer came, so like I was literally prepared to do another year at Lufkin. So I remember it was like early July. I had just moved out of I think I lived in Crown Forest apartments. So my wife had interviewed for a job in Lufkin because Coach Quick wife works for CPS too, so it wasn't hard. It was a pretty smooth transition with that. But she interviewed for a position in Lufkin. She got it. She had a start date set. I moved from my apartment to a rent house. I think I lived like I want to say I got a house in like Bricalo, I
Hmm.
believe, like a little rent house. And then my wife, we moved her stuff from Longview to. We were in the process. We did like the first big load. We moved the stuff from Longview to the house too. So this happened on the weekend. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So it's Wednesday, and so this guy named Jared Ball, he's the head coach at Ruston. Me and him have always been really close. He texts me and he's like, hey, what's up? He's like, oh, what's up, coach? He's like, Longview got a receiver job about to come open. And first of all, I'm thinking like, well, first of all, I'm a DB coach because I play DB and like I ain't played receiver since like my sophomore year. But he was like, I was like, oh yeah, that's what's up. So I'm like, why he texting me this? But he was like, you would you be interested in it? And I was like, I said, yeah, I guess so. And he was like, do you think Coach Quick will let you out your contract? Because this, there's a date. There's always a set date in
Yes.
desire to where coaches you're not supposed to get out your contract. And I'm like, I think I said maybe he would, maybe he won't. So after that, Coach King texted me. We talked. We got on the phone to talk, and he let me know he was going to contact Coach Quick. So the next morning, I get up and I was like, Coach, I told Coach King, I was like, well, I kind of got to see like everything because I told him what all we had going because my wife had got her job moved, and then we just got moved into this house, and we had just signed this lease. So it was a lot of things it was a lot of loose ends that
Yeah,
had to
you had a
get
lot
had
of
to get
important
tied.
stuff going on.
Yeah, man, it was a stressful night and day for me. So I woke up the next morning. I went to go visit with Coach Quick, and he already kind of had the feeling that I was finna go. So I went to my we talked, and I told him what I planned to do. So then I went to meet with the realtor people, and I ended up eating like I lost like $3,000 something because I don't know, it was like $2,000 something because we had to pay like a down payment plus a deposit. They was upset about us getting out the lease, but they ended up letting us out. But they just said we couldn't get our money back, something like that. So then my wife the last thing was my wife had to call her job and make sure that she could
Go back to
get
Longview.
yeah, because it wasn't like I said, the transfer it didn't go through officially, but it was in the
It was in the
process. So
process.
it was all yes, yes, yes. So I called Coach King back that evening and told him I was gonna take the job. So it was kind of like that. So within like a span of and this was like right before camp. So I think I went to Longwood the next week and got all that stuff done and I'm moving back. It was like boom, boom, boom. Then I'm back in Longwood right before the season starts, coaching wide receivers, first varsity job.
So, you had an L on and it was purple, and then you
Yeah.
went back and put the green L on. Like, I can't knock you. You went back home. You got to go do
Hmm.
what's best for you and your family. And it might have been lucky. You might have kept your $2,000, but
No
it's nothing
doubt.
like being at home and coaching under a staff that you played under. I bet that was a big to you.
I ain't gonna lie though, like I had grew to love Lufkin. I remember like because I would hang with Scroggins and Coach Durham and like a lot of us like we hang out, and they'd always say, if Coach King called, you gonna go right back to Longview, and I'd be like, man, whatever.
Hey,
Just
funny
like
Coach
whatever.
Scroggins story. My freshman year of football,
But
we were,
like,
we won. I don't know. I don't know if we won. I think we lost district. I think we got to be about. We lost one game, whatever. But
mhm.
we beat Oak Ridge last game of the season. I believe it was Oak Ridge, and Coach Scroggins. He always had something to say to us, and
Old
he
Scooter.
yeah, he go, guys, come on, guys, huddle up. We're like, all right, so we huddle up on a knee. And him and Cam and Joseph Hadnot was coaching with Cam. They were all coaching. They sit there screaming and hollering. We just won. And Scroggins goes, I got something for you guys. And he puts his hands behind his head and starts dancing for us. And I mean, it was one of the it's one of the funniest moments, watching Coach Scroggins, the guy that, he was a hard ass all season, but he cared.
I
And
bet
then he
that
just
was funny.
it was hilarious.
Scooter for him Scroggins funny when he get excited, man. He
Is
is.
it I think is he at Nacogdoches?
Last I checked, I heard he was. I'm pretty sure he is. I remember they had that nice house fit between Lufkin and Neck, so I'm pretty sure he's still over there.
So we talked about your time at Love, your time at Longview. How do you and Ralph get in the mix together? And y'all's coaching journey together.
So me and Ralph was, we met in college and we were always cool or whatever. And it seemed I don't think that we had a lot of a lot of our buddies like are coaches, and it wasn't nothing that was planned. It just kind of ended up that everybody ended up becoming coaches. But it's something that we always talked about, and it was always one of those things to where whoever gets the job, we want to hire, we want to hire each other and work together and see what we can do. So, I'm at Longview, and Ralph said Marshall at this time, and Ralph is married to my cousin Jordan. So,
Yeah.
um, Ralph, everyone talks about being a head coach and wanting to be a head coach, but Ralph was the person that actually like was really pursuing it. So like, he was, everybody say, I want to be a head coach one of these days, but one of these days for Ralph was like this day. So like he was one of the first ones that, put his name out there and start doing interviews. So like I said, it was one of those things to where, Ralph was always like, if I get one, just be ready. So
Sound
I
just
remember
like
that summer, Ralph was coaching. I mean, I lied. Ralph's daughter Callie and my son Jason were taking swimming lessons together, and like, um, this is right. He got the. This is like right when he was about to get the Yates job, and he came to swim lesson one day, and he was like, bro, it's about to happen. So I was like, and by this time it's like June, uh, it's like June or whatever. It's like late June, something like that. But yeah, he ended up getting it. And I had the opportunity to go at that moment, but it just wasn't good timing. Um, but I was just like, this time next spring, we can revisit it and see, just kind of see where everything's at, see where I'm at. So it kind of started like that. Like it was something that we had always planned. But like I said, this came from a group totality, just a lot of friends in our group. But like I said, we never knew who was actually going to be the first one to actually land a head job. But
so.
it ended up being
You
Ralph.
get the Yates the next year with Ralph. He's in his first year. He had completed his first year. He's going into year two. So you get the Yates and you become the offensive coordinator, correct?
Hmm.
So you going from a DB coach at Lufkin, freshman coach, to a receiver coach at Longview. So now you're OC. You played defense, but you also played, a little offense back in the day. What was that like, being in charge of the offensive side of the ball and not being on that defensive side of the ball?
Well, it was at that point. It wasn't anything because, like I said, I had been in Longview for 8 years, but at this point, so I was already transitioned from a defensive to offensive coach. Like I was already to the point to where, like, yeah, I don't think I ever want to coach defense anymore. Offense is a little more fun. But yeah, I get to Yates. So I accept the job around April sometime, and I get up there in June, and we just hit the ground running. I'm talking about 4 days a week.
Yeah, Ralph said y'all
Uh,
didn't have long to get, ready for football season.
Well, so Ralph got there a year before me.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so you weren't there that year. Okay, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so we can talk about Ralph's first year first because Ralph got to the Yates about 6 weeks before the season started, and for me walking into what I walked into, I can only imagine, and I've heard stories, but I can only imagine what he walked into. I'm talking about from him being by himself for the most part, from the amount of kids that was showing up, from the having to whoop the kids into shape, and
Yeah,
instill some discipline in them. And then on top of that, you got 6 weeks to get ready for a game. So you take Ralph, who's uh, the offensive coordinator his first year. He's the defensive coordinator, and he's the special teams coordinator. He had a few position coaches working with him, but you having to call all three phases of the game. And then you taking kids that are Yates kids. And when I say Yates kids, like Yates kids, they different. And like, coaching at a place like Longview and coaching at a place at Lufkin, just dealing with East Texas kind of kids, Yates kids different, man.
we
And we can
think
get
we
into
got
that a little
something
later.
on our hands, but it's nothing compared to what's going on Jack Yates.
It's nothing. Trust me, it's nothing. But you take a new coach, like I said, that's calling all three phases of the game, and then you go the worst thing. I answer the worst thing, but a lot of coaches or a lot of programs, you take a new coach and you go into a school like Yates and you start off 0-3. Like there's not many coaches that can get that turned around and then be able to finish, 5-2 in district and second. I mean, and make the playoffs. So, from that point, I was already like, just looking at it from I was at along with like Ralph, like 'cause, we would talk, we would always talk after every game, in the group and about how the game went, you know, and Ralph kept us updated. But it wasn't until I got here that I realized like how good of a coach Ralph really, really, really is. Because like I said, it's one thing to see it from the outside looking in. That's what most people see. But until you get here and you have to experience it, and you have to, yeah, you just kind of put yourself in a position of like, bro, like you actually went through this by yourself. Like a lot of people would have got broke. And I know for a fact that when I even tell Rap, I said, bro, I don't think I could have done that. You know what I'm saying? I think I'm a pretty resilient guy, hardworking guy. You know, I think I got a lot of traits that Ralph has, but it ain't many people that can do it, that can come here and do what he did, and especially by yourself. But like I said, so when I first got here, man, the first thing you notice is the kids. And Ralph used to always say, look, we would always go back and forth about like, so you take a freshman kid at Longview, um, they might not know um how to run a route or steps when it comes to trying to block power. They may not know those things down to a T, or they may not be really polished on those things, but you take for granted the natural things that kids can do as far as backpedaling or catching the football or hand placement when you're catching the football or catching the snap or just breaking on the football, how to tackle. Like all of those things are taken for granted. But with Yates kids, you literally have to take it from the ground up because you have kids that, first of all, you talk about kids that ain't played football ever. You know what I'm saying? We got kids that ain't played football, that ain't really lifted weights or haven't lifted weights, that don't know how to squat. And you got to build all those things on top of trying to get kids ready to play a football game. And man, those things are, like I said, those things are taken for granted at places for Longview, and I would even take them for granted because that's what we're used to. That's what you expect the kids to come in and be like. But you get to a place like Yates, and it's not like that, and you have to teach those things, and then you have to do it with limited resources. So you take me, first year play caller. So I get in here in June, and I'm trying to, you got to install the offense. They're in skills with limited time. You have limited coaches. Uh, you have to, get kids in shape. You have to, discipline, and then on top of that, like with Yates kids, like they have to respect you because they're not gonna just respect anybody, and if they don't respect you, then that's a whole other battle. So you battle on all these things, but those are things that I do naturally. So it wasn't a big transition for me, but the big thing is just getting these kids ready to play and figuring out what they can do, what we can be good at because you hear like, okay, I'm about to bring Longview offense up here, but everybody can't run Longview offense. Those kids ain't been running power since seventh grade or counter since seventh grade. They ain't been making these calls. And you don't have a running back that you can just hand it to and he gonna press a gap. Like these are things that you gotta rep and teach and do it with limited time and limited coaches.
So, like I said, you, you play middle school football, you play pee wee football, you play football outside. As a kid, like in Lufkin, Longview, all these towns, and I remember you watch Ralph Thomas, Quinn Trimble, all these guys. I remember how they used to line up on the line and put their finger out and look at the ref. And like we'd be in the backyard, we're doing the same, we're doing the same thing. You're learning those tendencies and stuff, and you learn how to tackle at a young age. You lay down on your back, blow a whistle, get up, and go hit each other. You learn those things. You learn how to tackle the correct way, the safe way. You get to middle school football, and you're running 19 speed, 18 speed already. You're learning all that stuff. You're getting ready for the things you're going to do on that high school level. So the kids, in the HISD area, are they playing middle school football at a high level?
Not really. Well, I would say not really because I mean, first of all, you don't get that one horse town feeling. Like you don't get like at Longview and even at Lufkin, I'm sure. Uh, you know, Forest Park, Foster, and Judson, even though they're at three different campuses, they're all running Longview system, and they're running it. They're running it from a simpler standpoint. But the things that
What do you mean
Longview's
by
going to
that?
do, the bread and butter. Excuse me.
So like every middle school runs the same plays that they're going to run in high school. So the goal is, we're not just going to put the ball in the most athletic kids' hands, let them run.
Yeah, it's gonna be a like the O line are gonna like the calls like whenever you're blocking power counter and long views in middle school you're gonna run they're gonna run a lot of the dive option. The calls that they make up front they're gonna run that in seventh grade and eighth grade. Like you've heard those things when you get to high school. The route combination that you run as a receiver you've heard those things in seventh grade. You've heard those things in eighth grade. The running backs you've heard press a gap. You've heard the jab steps or anything you got to make when you're running power counter. Like you know how to take a handoff. Like those are things that you know when you get to high school, right? That's what I mean by like things like that you take for granted. So you get to a school like Yates, and we're not the only school that deals with it. I know I promise you every school in our district does. And I'm pretty sure some other schools that are in the city as well. But you don't get that in middle school. Like middle school coaches are running their own thing. They're running their own schemes. They're running their own systems. It doesn't vertically align with the high school, which is a problem. I ain't gonna say it's a problem, but it's something that you have to fix. Um, like I said, you don't get those things because first of all, like your feeder school may be someone else's feeder, so you can't necessarily go over there and instill the things that you want to instill. Um, those kids that you have in middle school, like you, and even if you could, like you may work with a kid from sixth grade, seventh grade, and eighth grade, and then ninth grade, he gets plucked from to one of those, bigger schools on the outskirts of Houston. So you have to deal with that as well. So no, like the middle school to high school transition is like starting all over. And like I said, a lot of the kids that I know for us specifically, a lot of our kids were first year football players. Kids that didn't get to go through off season. Kids that have never lifted weights before. Um, so like I said, you have to teach literally everything, and I mean everything. I'm talking about how to get in the stands, how to get down, how to tackle, hand placement, how to catch the football, how to take a handoff, how to take a snap. Like there, you can't leave. No, you can't
Start
assume
from
that
scratch.
one of our kids know anything. You said what?
You're starting from scratch.
You started from scratch, and I'm sure, like I said, a lot of coaches get on here and say, okay, yeah, we do the same thing, but I promise you, your kid didn't start where our kid did. Like if you look at our defense this year, like we took. I don't even say you can just look at our whole team. Like I don't know, I can't think of the exact number off the top of my head, but we had several starters that came in August. I'm talking about August. Like didn't go through off season. You had some come in the summer because you had some come in the summer that went throughout the summer with us, but then you also had several of them that didn't go through the summer and just came in the fall and ended up being starters. And I watched Ralph. Ralph called the defense this year, and I watched his process of where he started the summer. I'm talking about he started from ground zero. I'm talking about tracking, tackling, hip. We had our everyday drills that we would do, and we all coach our coach defense again this year for the first time because we were limited on coaches, and we can talk about that later as well. But I just watched the process that he took to build a defense, and I just kind of sat back. And by the time the first game came, like it showed. And the way we played defense this year and last year, it was night and day. Because when I first got here, I was my point of view for look, Yates kids is that they were scared to death to tackle somebody because that's what we looked like on film. But it was totally different this year. But like I said, I watched the process that he took him through to get him to where he wanted to be, and
So you coached a
that's
little
what you got to do
defense
here.
this year.
Yeah, whenever he needed me to, I would take the secondary. So like I said, we had five coaches this year. So I was a coordinator. We had an O line coach, and then I had a receiver coach. And my receiver coach is at the middle school. So it's not like he's not on campus. He don't show up till right before the start of practice. And then you take Coach RT was the defensive coordinator, and then we had a D line coach. So I would take the secondary in whenever he needed me to. So yeah, I did coach defense. Like I said, we had everyday drills that we
Five
do.
coaches.
Five coaches, including the head coach,
So it's
and we
five.
went 8-2.
Now I know I heard a story that y'all share coach's office, correct?
Yes,
So everybody has to work together.
yeah. So like Coach Ortiz, is the head coach, he don't even got his own office. His office is like his desk is here, then my desk is over here, then we got a table in the middle. It's like a whoever designed it, like whoever designed like our football part, well, they didn't take into consideration like football, or especially the coaches.
So you telling me I got my offense going. He's got the defense going, and then he got to go work with this. So you got to go work with this. So somebody has, one other coach has to leave with his responsibility and go do this.
So it wasn't like that. So we always did offense and defense. So like when you and this is something that any program that has you have to share a lot of kids like we do. You're going to have an offensive segment and then a defensive segment. So you have to kind of plan that accordingly as far as who's going to go first, who's going to go second, like how many minutes you're going to get today, this and that. So it was never a situation to where when he had the offense, I had the defense. It wasn't that thing because both of our kids are going both sides. But it was just so like when we're doing defense, hey, Red, I need you to take the secondary and work this, and this, or just work whatever. So it was one of those things. But man, when I so we can rewind to like my first year. Like I said, so another thing, most coordinators in East Texas are, you're gonna get, PE, so a lot of coaches don't even have class. So like when I first got here, my first year, and I came in the middle of a takeover. So, dude, I had on 8 days I had, and we're on like an hour and a half schedule. So, 8 days. This is what my schedule would look like. First period, I had a PLC. I mean, I had a grade level PLC. Second, this is my first because when I was at Longview, we weren't really required to go to PLCs. They don't really require the coaches to do all that. But I had, well, at least not for me because I taught seniors. I wasn't really they just kind of leave me alone for the most part. But grade level PLC, world geography class, quick lunch, world geography class. You get out of school at 4:30, straight to practice. B days. First period, world geography class, quick lunch, world geography class, department PLC. Get out of school 4:30, straight to practice. And you're talking about the coordinator. So like we're starting practice at 5. We got to do offense and defense. We're limited with coaches. Um, you're gonna get out of practice, whatever time. So I probably would get home. Then you got to battle the city traffic. So I would probably get home, 9 o'clock every night. And then on top of this, I have to get ready. I have to get my practice script, and a lesson ready for the next day
And you
because
still got to be dad and husband.
you still got to be dad and husband. So like, it was stressful, man. I ain't gonna lie. It was my first fall. It was stressful. I'm talking. I'm tired. I'm getting home. I'm falling asleep on the couch. Doing work like because I'm just so tired and so exhausted because you have to get those scripts and different things like that done. Um, in nighttime because the next day you're not going to have time in the middle of the day to do it because HISD especially is not one of those. It's not one of those things where you can teach for 20 minutes and then give them some work. Like you got to be up all day on your feet teaching. So like I'm an all American teacher and I'm trying to be an all American OC. But on the flip side of that, we still were able to have a good season, and get things turned around. And I was grateful for it all after because it made me so much better. And you talk about the things I was used to at Longview, like practice film. Like we don't get to film my practice, so you can't sit up and get those things corrected. A lot of times, and you can even talk about so like even last year, if you notice when I gave my schedule, none of those said athletic period.
No,
So so
teaching,
I wasn't
teaching,
even
quick lunch.
yeah, I wasn't even in the athletic period last year, like no athletic period. And on top of that, our kids, we only got our kids on 8 days. So we would get our kids on 8 days. So our kids didn't even have athletic periods both days. So you talk about trying to have an off season.
Yeah, you got to
Uh,
still work out and all that.
yeah, so this was the whole year, man. We got our kids every other day the whole year. So you get them Monday and Wednesday and then every other Friday because Fridays rotate 8 days and B days. So if you count those days up from the time you get up the playoffs, which is like early November until May, you probably miss, 80, 90 days of work, which is a whole lot. It may not be that many, but even 50 or 60 is a whole lot. And then, it's like, hey, go win. So yeah, you have to deal with a lot of different stuff, man. It's
Hats off to you guys.
you said what?
Hats off to you guys.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Like honestly, like I know I look back years down the road, and I know that's the best move that I made because I needed it, man. You get to a place at Longview, and Longview is a great place to coach. You're talking about like how you're allowed to coach the kids. You're talking about the setup you get, community support, the kids you get to coach, the resources, man. The big resources is huge. You know what I'm saying? You take a lot of those things for granted, but then you come to a place like Yates where you don't get to record practice. You don't have a position coach to meet with their kids. You don't have the kids every day. You don't have coaches in the athletic period. Um, you may get to a game. You may get to a game an hour before kickoff, like because of buses late or something like that. Like people don't know. Our bus was our playoff game, and this ain't nothing like this wasn't nobody's fault, but it was, I ain't gonna say it wasn't nobody's fault, but it was somebody's fault. But we show up to our first playoff game this year at 6:15.
Kickoff 7:30.
Kickoff 7. So it's like, hey kids, you can't get taped, get dressed, you gotta go outside the pregame, come back in, strap it on, let's go. And this has happened multiple times. That was the latest we ever showed up for a game, but we've showed up to a game an hour and 15 before. Like this has happened several times. And it's like, hey, strap it on, let's play. And Coach Thomas would always tell the kids, hey, we're here now. It's time to overcome it. I mean, overcome it. We ain't gonna make no excuses, and that's what we do. So,
So
though,
you don't have time to go there and listen to music, put your tape on, put your spat on, go see the trainer get taped up.
nope,
Little meet coaches meetings and all that.
nope. Strap it on and let's go. Let's rock and roll.
But
And
I
it'd
don't
be
think Ralph would want just knowing Ralph, he wouldn't want to start out just the easy route. Like
as
he
far as what.
he just wouldn't want to walk into just a great program starting off. Like I feel like this was nothing but something that Ralph Thomas, you know, would not mind doing. He got the opportunity, and I just know the kind of person he is. He sees this, y'all see what comes with the opportunity, and
Mhm.
it never made him think one thing less about Jack Yates, one thing less about HISD. It just made y'all grind harder.
I mean, if you know Ralph, like he's not an excuse maker, man. It starts at the top.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
He's not an excuse maker. He gonna show up and he gonna get the job done. Like Ralph he's not scared of any challenge. And like a lot of people when Yates came up and when he took it, like people didn't want this job. But I bet you if it were to open now or in the future, people would want it now because of what it's turned into. And that's nothing but a testament to Ralph. And you talk about a young guy, uh,
33,
who
wasn't
man,
he?
can't anybody tell me about Ralph? Like that is a ball coaching dude. And I've heard people say, well, y'all play HISD or this or that. Well, guess what? We all coach the same kind of kids. Those you might say, okay, they ain't playing about it because they're blowing them out. Well, that ain't always been the case. Even last year, we had a lot more close games than we had this year. But that just shows you the testament of our program and how it's grown. And a lot of the kids that Ralph came in with that were freshmen that played that time, those guys are our juniors now. So you're starting to reap the benefits of that. But like I said, you take and I'll tell a lot of coaches, I was like, hey man, let's put Ralph where you at, and then let's put you where Ralph at, and let's see if the results are the same. So can't nobody tell me nothing about Ralph, man. That dude is a freaking ball coach, and I enjoy working for him. He demands a lot out of me. He demands a lot of his coaches. And if the offense don't look right, hey, I'm gonna get my butt chewed, and I appreciate that because when I work for Coach King, everybody knows if you work for Coach King, if your position ain't doing what they're supposed to do, if you're not doing what you're supposed to do as a coach, you're gonna get your butt chewed. So it just kind
That's
of
just part of the job.
keeps you level headed and on your grind. Don't let you get comfortable. So
Hats off to you guys and everything y'all did at Jack Yates. Me myself, like I told Ralph when he came on the show, only thing I knew about Yates was they were good back in the day. They had a hell of a basketball team always. Like that's pretty much all I knew about Yates. And then get to hear both y'all's story and talk about the situation at Yates, and it should make a lot of head coaches and a lot of districts and schools be thankful for the opportunity they have, because some are working with less and making the best out of it. And
exactly.
like you said, you don't have the kids that have played football their whole life. You don't have the size. You don't have all the variables that most people have. And you make the playoffs every year. You got a chance. You play for a district championship the last, was that 2 or 3 years?
Mm-hmm.
So y'all are taking what you got, making the best of it, and you're not complaining about it. You're happy to be where y'all are at.
Yeah, and I appreciate Yates is it feels like an HBCU, man. It's like it's never a dull moment at the school. I got so many Yates stories, man. Like some stuff I was saying since I've been here, it's funny. But I recommend it, man. Any young coach or especially a coach like me who needed, I had to get some play calling experience, and I've had an opportunity, I had an opportunity or two before I came to Yates, but it just wasn't timing wasn't right, or this or that kept me from saying yeah. But come get you some inner city, man. Get you some inner city ball. It'll grow you. I can tell you that. And I think, like I said, everyone needs it. So I think I needed it, and I didn't realize how much I needed it until I came here and experienced it. And I'm forever grateful, for the experience.
Come to Lufkin. We'll talk about that later. So we all know it. Matt Stepp dropped it. Lufkin ISD dropped it. Main coach Quick's retired. Shout out to him and everything he did, as a Lufkin football coach, as a
Shout out
coordinator, as
Coach
a head
Writt.
coach. You got to give him a statue. He's a GOAT.
No doubt.
What do you think as as offensive coordinator, being part of a program like Yates, and being a part of a program like Longview, and also being a player there and having the chance to coach at Lufkin, what do you think Lufkin needs to get back on the track of being competitive and being Lufkin football?
I mean, they need to. I can't. They need to just find the right guy for the job. I mean, there's 3 different ways that they could go, but they need to get the best list of candidates that they can. I'm sure they've got some hell of a resumes that have came across their desk. Figure out what's the best fit for the kids. What do the kids need? And at the end of the day, everybody's gonna want who they want. Everybody's gonna have an opinion about who they want, but the big thing is who's the best for the kids. You know what I'm saying? So, you may bring in someone who has 10 state championships or one state here and there, but are they the best fit for these kids? Because I can tell you right now, you can bring a coach with 10 state championship rings right now, you can bring them to Yates, and they're not going to be the best for those kids. So I think a lot of times when districts are making hires, they may look at a resume, oh, he won state back in 2015. Well, guess what? I won state in 2018. But am I the best fit for this group of kids at this particular school with this particular demographics? Like, no. Like, so that's really what it's about, because you don't want somebody that can get that, get kids back out, because I'm sure some kids in Lufkin that aren't playing that probably need to. Like I said, someone the kids want to play for. And like I said, the big thing is who's the best for the kids, man, because Lufkin can have as many athletes as they want running around, but if you don't have someone who's, who can relate to the kids and who can get those kids out and get the most out of them, then you may be back here in the next couple of years. So whoever that guy is, like I said, I'm sure they got a lot of applicants, so they need to get those guys in and try to figure that out.
Well, you said something earlier. When you got to Yates, you and Ralph both, you have to earn those kids' respect.
Right.
And, it's not about a kid respecting an adult. It's about them not knowing you, them, being from the situation they're dealt with every day, and having somebody they can trust, and, they can, that somebody they know that believes in them and, wants them to be great. Because a lot of kids don't have that. And that goes to you go anywhere in the state of Texas, you have a lot of kids that don't have somebody at home, or they don't have that male figure, to get them on track and, keep them on the positive path of life. And a lot of people don't realize it's not about just, championships, rings, gold balls and all that. You got to realize what kind of, kids you have in your community and what they need outside of football. Because football is one thing. And, I don't know the statistic to this, but, one thing I've heard, at Yates, when y'all got there, education was something y'all pushed. And it was to make sure you got the passing rate up, make sure kids are playing on Friday nights. They're not 6 weeks into the school year and, they're failing and stuff like that, missing the opportunity to play football. And I'm not saying that, the coaches we had at Lufkin did not do that. They did a great job with the kids they had, but you go get somebody, and it's basically like this. You take Coach Todd at SOC and you take him 45 minutes on the road, you take him to South Lake. Do those kids buy into him? You take Riley Dodge from South Lake, you bring him to SOC. Do those kids buy into him? He's been a part of a championship program. He had the tradition, but do these kids relate to, can they relate to him? And, can he relate to these kids' background and what they're going home to every day?
Exactly, man. Those things are huge, and I spoke on that earlier because, like I said, when we first got, even when Ralph first got the Yates, like I said, you take our kids. First of all, you're dealing with a generation of kids who are lazy. If you just want to put the generation as a whole, people ever say, back in our days, but like I said, you take kids who are lazy. You take kids who really want to play football, then you take kids like that we have at Yates, and everybody has them. Like you battle in the streets, you battle on social media. You got kids that don't have parents at home. It's important to have someone that relates to those kids. And like I said, the big thing, like even with Ralph, like at Yates, and that's everybody knows Ralph's story. Ralph used to live in the projects. He can relate to that. He can relate to the single parent homes. No father figure in your life. So a lot of kids need that. And these kids our kids at Yates, like they don't respond to nobody like they respond to Ralph. Like they don't even respond to me like they respond to Ralph. And it ain't even close. And it's because, like I said, who he is, and just the relationship that he built with when he first got here, and just the relation that you have with him. And we do a lot for our kids. As far as picking them up. Like a lot of our kids have trouble finding rides, to school. You have to buy them something to eat. And you talk about even Ralph. Like Ralph has spent he spent thousands of dollars out of his own pocket to make sure our kids have. Uh, he's always he's always telling them that we may be an inner city program, but we're not gonna look like an inner city program. So he did the best that he can, and even if that involved coming out of his own pocket, to make sure that those kids didn't feel less of a program than other teams that we play, and those things are important. Uh, and like I said earlier, what I'm saying, you can put a coach here and not be able to do what was done here, and then you can put us in another situation, and then I imagine that we could probably do the same thing because here teaches you to do way more. You just have to learn to do more with less, man. And those things are often taken for granted, even in the hiring process. But like I said, like just to piggyback on what you said earlier, just it's important to get the right guy that can relate to the kids because everything, if you can get the kids to buy in, everything else will fall into place. And you're talking about getting numbers up. How many kids how many kids like that want to be on? There's many kids that want to be on the football team now. Like we've told a lot of kids no, just because you know they don't necessarily fit what we've built and what we're trying to build it into.
The
So those
culture.
things are important. They don't fit the culture. Good word.
That's like Steve Sarkisian says, if you decide that you want to get in the portal and you don't, you decide that you put yourself out there, you can't come back. And
Nah.
it's basically like I'm not agreeing with that 100% because sometimes it's best for some kids to get in the portal and leave.
Mm-hmm.
But he's like you said, he's building a culture. Like if you don't want to be here that bad, then leave because you don't fit what I have going on with my program.
Exactly. And culture is huge, man. And once you get a culture established, like that helps your program run itself. So then you get the freshmen that come in like and don't know anything or have never been a part of discipline, but they see all the other kids acting that way and they fall in line. But you have to have the right person to establish that culture, and that's why we always say us versus us because a lot of the problems that RT started us versus us because that came over. He started it back in Marshall, but it fit our program so good, and it always like comes full circle so many times because the main problems that we have are like inner, whether it's you versus you or somebody on our team or just somebody on our team or just somebody in the district or just somebody in the school. Like it's always us versus us. And if we're able to focus on those things and focus on us and get the things fixed within us or in you, that ends up, tailoring to the big picture, which is, you know, uh, making Yates one of the perennial programs in the state.
Well, Coach Writt, I thank you for joining us tonight. It's been a pleasure to get to speak to you and hear all these things that you've endured on your path as a coach. And even though you're from Longview, a lot of love for you there. But I just hope people get to realize the battles y'all face every day, and it's just you're not just showing up to school and getting in your chair and crossing your feet, pulling out your newspaper and getting ready for football practice. You're in a classroom, all day. You got meetings, and then you only get your kids one day a week at a period.
Yes, I didn't piggyback on that. That has gotten a little better. Like I said, I am this year. I was in the athletic period one day, and then we do get you get some kids both days. So we do have a good principal at our school, and she's been working to try to get meet some of the needs that we had, meet some of our needs, but it's still a long way to go.
Yeah. And like I said earlier, you're doing the best what you got. And 3 years in a row you made the playoffs, had a chance to play for a district championship, and that ain't common a lot of places with people, even people with the resources, to have their kids every day and all the extra things. And y'all are beating the odds with what y'all got, and it's hats off to you guys. And I wish nothing but success to Jack Yates and you and Ralph over there and the rest of the guys and the kids there coming in that program. And I hope that y'all can keep that tradition, that culture growing, and get a chance to go play past the first round, go play in the second round, play in the third round, fourth round, fifth round, go play for a state championship and all those great things. And I don't see that not coming y'all's way anytime soon because y'all are you're steadily climbing the ladder at everything y'all are doing in the football program and through the education parts and everything. And it'd be, like you said, it'd be not, it's going to be a great thing in Lufkin if we get a person that can come in and, do those things, build that relationship with the kids, get kids out the hallways, walk in the hallways that should be on the football field, make them want to play football, get them to, want to be a part of something great. Like you said, y'all are, having it, that at Yates, but, making sure people fit the culture of Lufkin, fit the program and, want to win and be successful. Those are all, great things. And, we don't know, we don't know what the future has in store. We don't know.
I can imagine as a fan, it's just one of those times where, you kind of, it's like an anxious thing, like, cause y'all ready to see who y'all next guy gonna be. But I wish y'all to look down there, man. I hope y'all find the best guy that can come in and lead that program.
And
I always had much love for Lufkin. I don't got nothing bad to say about him.
I forgot to ask you about this. Was that a roughing the kicker?
No, I don't. So from every angle I've seen, man, it looks like he might have grazed his foot. I can't say if he did or did not, but the kicker did a really good job of flopping. So now I've talked to I know I got some buddies that are referees, and they all said that was no. I just think that as a ref, you can't make that call, man. Like, you don't dictate the game like that, because that's literally dictating the game. If you don't call, even if it was a slight bump into the foot or whatever you want to call it, running to the kicker, you don't make that call, because if you don't make the call, you don't hurt Southlake. Other than they get to go to overtime, but you make the call, now you're dictating the game, because you just gave them another chance to win, and ultimately cause, I ain't gonna say cause, because that may or may not been the exact reason they lost, but you pretty much dictated the game. Like, you had you had a say so on the outlook of the game, man. You can't make that call, man. Not in the 5th round to hit the state. Let it go to overtime and duke it out. See who wins.
I agree with you. It was a sad way to get beat in the 5th round, and right there getting the chance to go to Jerry World and play for that state championship. And I hate that for Longview, because
you said what?
I hate that for Longview. One thing about it, Lufkin and Longview might be big rivals and all that, but Longview wants, that's a good, it's been a great relationship between the two programs. Like, we want to see Longview do good. I'm sure Longview wants to see us do good, and it's just something you hate to see to town right across, right down the road.
Yeah, East Texas. One thing I noticed about East Texas is when they get in the playoffs, East Texas is gonna pull for East Texas unless they're going against each other. But even if somebody ends up beating you, as long as there's no love, no bad blood there, you're pushed for them to go ahead and finish the job. So East Texas is always gonna pull for each other whenever we get in the playoffs.
And shout out to all the schools getting ready to play this week from East Texas. Wish on nothing but success. Coach Writt, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for coming on live from the Pines. We hope to see you on here again. You and RT maybe together. That'd be great. Thank you again. Hope you have a great night, and good luck to Jack Yates football.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you for having me.